All right, so basically, I'm just going to talk about my journey with like fighting sexual sin. And yeah, let's get started. So this is me when I was 12, and this was sixth grade, middle school. And basically, I got introduced to porn from my friends here, and I started to watch porn. And then I think I showed it to my brother too. So this is when he started as well. I don't know if I should put him on the spot like that, but it is what it is. Anyway, this is 2013 when I started to go to college, my first year in college. And at this point, I never like kissed a girl before. I never had a girlfriend or a relationship longer than 2 weeks. And I was like, dude, I really freaking want a girlfriend. So that was like my main goal for going to college, just like getting my first kiss, as embarrassing as it is. Anyway, uh, I achieved that goal and I achieved more than that. And I was deep in sin. I was like fornicating. And basically, it was really weird because while I was doing that, I was still watching porn too. Anyway, we're going to come back to that. So I started getting involved with a church there, and basically they found out that I was fornicating, and I repented and stuff. And then that's actually when I became Christian. It was from that moment and from learning that I was really a sinner. I was just not the good person that I thought I was. And Jesus dying on the cross and all that stuff started to make sense to me. Anyway, the church I was part of was also very, what's the word? They were very strict about a lot of things, and they basically had all of us, all the men that were part of the church, using this app called Covenant Eyes. And basically, it's a porn filtering app, and they were just aware of how many men are struggling with this thing. So they're like, you know what? We're just going to make it mandatory. Everyone in our church has to use this app. Okay, and the thing about this, even though this app helped a lot with our porn usage, like you would, if you really wanted to watch it, there's ways around it. So I was still like finding ways around it, and my other friends too in my small group, and a lot of the men that I knew that were part of the church were still like struggling and falling to lust, right? So at this point, I was just like concluded, oh, this is something I'm going to struggle with for the rest of my life. And it's apparently so because even all my other brothers are struggling with it, including the pastor's son, which shocked me that he even struggled with that too. Anyway, this was between 2013 and 2016. So at 2016 is when I got burnt out from church. And if you have watched my Instagram videos, you will see that story. So I pretty much exited the church and I exited Christianity altogether. And I entered my slot maxing phase, right? And it started gradually, but especially in 2020, I was just like deep in slop, deep in pornography, deep in video games, deep in junk food, and really far from God. I just had no God in my life. I consider myself just not Christian. Anyway, that was probably like the worst period of porn addiction for me. I was watching like the normal stuff wouldn't even hit me anymore. I was watching like, hentai and intense stuff. And I was, at some points, I would even be watching pornography like 3 times a day. Yeah, and this is just some more pictures from that time. Like I was really overweight. I don't know. I could just see it from my face. I was just like not well. Anyway, if you've also watched my Instagram, you know that I went to Japan after that because I was just like so sick and tired of myself, and I just wanted something else. Like I was in 18 hours League of Legends every day and just pornography, smoking, drinking, etc. I just wanted out of that, right? So I vacationed to Japan in 2022, and then I moved there in 2023. And here I was like, dude, at this point, I'm like, I haven't thought about like getting into a relationship, marriage. That never occurred to me until here. I was just like, dude, I've been alone like all my 20s. I want a girlfriend, right? So I started putting myself on dating apps, right? And basically I had zero success, right? And at this point, I still looked like this. And I was like, dude, I need to work on myself. So I entered Winter Arc, right? I was doing personal training, and I was like trying to shed some pounds. And while I was doing that, I got like obsessed with self-improvement, and I got obsessed with like just making myself better, looks wise, personality wise, etc., money wise, even, right? And while I was working hard on myself, I ran into this very specific video. It's from this creator named Joshua Wright. He's like really big on Instagram. And basically this video was him like doing the, I don't know if you've seen like the Interstellar video or meme going around where it's like they see a past version of themselves doing something that they shouldn't have been doing, right? And he just like, no, no, screaming through like a glass window or something, and he can't reach the guy. But anyway, it's of him like having first been exposed to porn at like, I don't know, age of 12 too, I think, right? And then the guy in the glass is him, like his adult self going, no, don't ever look at that, right? And then it goes into him being like, oh my gosh, that has been like ruining my life ever since that one moment, right? And he's just sitting there and he's just like really sad about that, right? And then like this text right here, it says, you can't go back and change what happened from God, right? And then God knows what happened and God still forgives you and accepts you, right? Because of the blood of Christ, right? And that, when I watched that, this is the first Christian reel I've ever gotten on my algorithm in the last like 7 years or whatnot, right? And it's super random because I literally looked through my saved videos up until this point. This is the only Christian reel, right? So I consider this like the intervention of God. Anyway, this reel really moved me because at this point, I feel way too dirty. Like I feel like I knew the gospel and I accepted it and I fell away and I'm just done. Like there's no way back for me, right? I just assumed that was the case for me. Anyway, this made me reconsider church, and it made me remember that God is gracious, right? And that I'm not disqualified, right? Anyway, I started to see a lot more reels after that, just like a lot more reels about like being a man, what it means to be a man biblically, and Christian stuff, right? So that's pretty much what triggered my return to church. I just started to have a heart again for, I'll start to open my heart, right, to the thought of God being in my life, especially because at this point, I started to lose weight and I started to better myself from like my slot maxing days. And I truly realized right here that it's so much better to do the morally right thing than to give yourself to, I don't know, vices, right? And it truly revealed to me right here that, oh man, I need to live according to some moral law. Like maybe God was right when he says not to give ourselves to like drunkenness, not to give ourselves to gluttony, not to give ourselves to just addictions and whatnot, right? I started to consider, hey, maybe God's ways are good because I started to benefit from the weight loss and started to benefit from discipline and whatnot. Anyway, at this point, I'm like pretty deep into church again, and my heart has already opened to God. Like I'm like beginning to learn about him and again and everything, and involve myself in church. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to trust God with even dating and marriage. Like we're not going to focus on dating and getting a girlfriend. I'm going to change my focus to wanting marriage, right? We're going to do this God's way, because I know that when I did it like the way, in a way without him, right? That's where I ended up in like rock bottom, right? Broke, overweight, a lot of health problems, unfulfilled, zombie, etc. So anyway, I just decided to trust God here. And then, I don't know, you've probably heard of No Nut November. And I was like, dude, the secular people are deciding to fast from, I don't know, busting a nut in November, right? And I was like, dude, if the secular guys can do it, me as a Christian guy, I should commit to doing this too. Like there's no excuse for me, right? So I was like, you know what? I'm going to commit to not watching porn, not masturbating or anything. Because at this point I was still like, you know, giving into that temptation. So I committed to doing this. And I went through all of November and I went through all of December as well, right? And fast forward to January 2024. So here, oh yeah, I had blonde hair here. I missed that hair. Anyway, I returned back to California just for visiting home for Christmas and the holidays and whatnot. It's very interesting. This is the same environment where I was slot maxing. right? I don't know if that was a reason. Regardless, I fell into pornography at this time again. Okay, just making a note of that. Anyway, I returned back to Japan a couple of days into January, and I was like, bruh, no more of that. Like, I gained 6 pounds too. Like, I started getting, I was just like playing games again and everything. I started going back to older things, right? And as soon as I returned to Japan, I was like, dude, I'm gonna freaking lock in. And I made like a commitment that I'm gonna do 10,000 steps every day. That was like my New Year's resolution. And I have kept it since then, actually, for the most part. Like, my average steps have consistently been 10,000 since then. So that's something I'm really proud of. It's just like a New Year's resolution that I've actually been able to keep. Anyway, that's a side tangent. But I started to lock in hard here. I was like, dude, okay, we're gonna commit to no porn, work on my health, lose even more weight, get more fit, focus on my diet. And I just was completely locked in. Like, we continued the winter arc at another level. Right? Oh yeah, there's a picture of me like going to the gym in Japan. But the problem, right? I don't know if it was like I was still beating my meat. I was still masturbating, right? And I was like kind of excusing it with, hey, at least I'm not watching porn, right? And this is not exactly related, but I started to learn about the damaging effects of porn. Like, I started specifically reading through Reddit, right? r/Christian marriages. And dude, it truly revealed to me how devastating the effects of pornography are in a marriage, right? It just completely destroys it. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail later on that. Anyway, that made me go like, oh shoot, you know, for the sake of my future wife, I need to really fight and defeat this thing, right? And I was actively really trying to find my wife at this point in my life. Like, I started to date a lot, and then I got into my like first relationship in 10 years where I truly decided I will not make this, I will do this as pure as possible. And I will only make this a thing where I'm considering the person for marriage, right? So that was the main focus. Anyway, fast forward to 2025, like, I was still like walking in no pornography, still struggling masturbation, right? But trying my best. Anyway, 2025, I've been using eBay. I forgot why. I think to sell some like anime stuff, sell some Yu-Gi-Oh cards that I had. And my eBay suddenly one day showed me some like erotic stuff, right? And this is when I was like, just like kind of at home. I was working from home here, right? And I was very, what's the word? Just like wasting time. You know, like when you work, sometimes you're just like scrolling. It was like one of those moments, right? And I saw that image, the image of that erotic whatever, and that made me fall into porn again, right? And basically, after a year and a half of not watching porn, I fell again, right? And then this is just the next event, but basically at this point too, like, I think I dated like 10 plus girls, and then I was in a relationship with 2, right? And nothing worked out. And I started to get very depressed, right? And at this point, I'm still thinking like, I need to do this God's way, right? I need to like be pure about dating and make sure I'm not fornicating and whatever, right? I'm still trying my best with not watching porn, even though I fell here. Anyway, I came to a conclusion. What's the point of doing this God's way? I'm not getting anything out of it, right? And I was like, especially I ran into like many rejections here. Like, I think I got rejected like 3 or 4 times in a row. And this final rejection totally wrecked me because it was with this girl I really liked, right? And this girl seemed to have really liked me too. Basically, long story short, she told me it was never like that. And that made me so confused and so jaded. I was like, oh my gosh, this girl like clearly showed me affection 10x more than both my past girlfriends combined, right? So it was just like so confusing for me. And I was like, dude, there's truly no hope for me. Like, I'm going to die single if I do this God's way. And I just started massively watching porn here. I was like, dude, I really just want like, I want to bang. I want sex, right? And I even started to consider going to the red light district in Japan. There was like this event that happened basically me and some Christian dudes, we started walking through here because one of them suggested we got to pray for these lost people. And we started walking through there, and we even walked past the alley where all the like prostitutes are just standing there. And it's super crazy because you could just go to them and be like, yo, I want you. And you could go and sleep with them and do whatever as long as you pay them, right? Anyway, I really regret ever having gone down this alley walking with my Christian friends to do mission stuff, because that just stayed in my mind, right? And at this point, I'm like so vulnerable, right? And I thought about that again. I'm like, dude, I'm ready to go and do that, right? And I think this is God's intervention. But basically, I opened up YouTube, and this exact video landed on my feed. He's not a Christian guy. He's secular, but he's into self-improvement, manosphere, whatever, right? Anyway, in this video, he talks about his experience doing exactly what I was about to consider. And basically, long story short, it changed my mind completely. It showed me how sucky it is. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I had to reach out to this guy because I really feel like he saved me, right? Anyway, I became really good friends with him since. And this guy is actually the guy to kickstart my social media, everything. Like he just posts a lot of videos of himself yapping on YouTube. And he reached like, I think he has 40K subscribers. He has like 50K followers on Instagram. And he was like doing this for a living, right? He really inspired me. We would meet up and hang out. And basically he's the guy who got me started with content creation. Oh yeah, so after I watched the video, I was like, oh my gosh, hell no, Satan. I'm going to commit to still doing this God's way. Okay, fast forward to 2026, I basically returned to America. This is 2.5 years after having lived in Japan. And okay, returning to America, it hit me really hard because I was like, I built a life from scratch is what it felt like in Japan. And I built a community. I built great friendships. I had a lot of, like, what's the word? There was a lot of stuff even happening with relationships and dating still, right? Like I had stuff happening and like I was still meeting women. I had a career going. I made a lot of music friends. And I really, Japan is where I transformed, right? And everyone saw that transformation happen within me, like my weight wise and my character and even my closeness to God and everything. Like people saw that, right? But when I returned to America, I lost all of that. Like nobody has any idea that I was like really overweight at one time and lost all the weight. And I like, what's it called? I like made a lot of progress on my League of Legends addictions. I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, etc. Right? And I also had no money here. I also was living in my parents' house. This is me at 31, right? And I had no car, right? I just felt like a child. Like I had to depend on my parents here. I felt like such a freaking loser, right? I couldn't get out of this like victim mentality. Anyway, this is when I started to get like back into my slot maxing days. I was literally started to play League of Legends again, and I was playing like 9 hours until 3 a.m. And then after that playing Guild Wars, after that playing RuneScape, going to bed at 4 a.m., watching anime, and then I started watching porn, right? And then I'll wake up at 10 a.m. and then I'll watch Instagram Reels to 2 p.m. And I was like, oh my goodness. I'm repeating the exact life that I escaped, right? Anyway, this is when I ran into this very sus looking video on YouTube, right? It's like with this hot Asian girl and stuff about Christianity, but stuff that looks just like weird. It's like the weird side of Christianity stuff, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I don't watch this, but I was like, she's kind of pretty. And I don't know, something just made me want to click it. So I did. And I watched the whole thing. And basically at this point, I built a lot of values and a lot of worldviews while I was in Japan, but I kind of just dropped all of them. But this video just revived all those things, right? And it specifically gave me a new perspective on just like struggling with lust. It gave like the spiritual realm perspective of it here. Anyway, I'm going to go a little more deeper into this. But at this point, I was like, okay, I'm going to lock in again. I'm going to not be depressed. I'm going to try again, right? So I sold my gaming laptop. I sold my Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I started cutting right here, and I started to really focus on my diet again. And I was like, dude, no porn, no more anime too, right? And I made plans to move out of the house because I made this deep connection that my environment, right, this environment that I have associated with slot maxing is causing me to slot max, right? It's not the whole cause, but it has some real effect, right? Anyway, I did all that, and I was locked in again. And then somehow, it wasn't even out of my undoing, but I had two Christian bros that I wouldn't say I was really close to, but I got to know in Japan, and somehow we got connected again. And here we started to like talk about our struggle with lust and our struggle with sexual sin, right? And we started to talk about it. One specific member, right? He started to just like be very vulnerable about it. And I've never experienced this in my life before, someone being that vulnerable about it. And I was like, dude, this is really good. And that may encourage me to be very vulnerable about my own struggles, right? And it got to the point where we're asking each other, like, what kind of porn we used to watch. And it sounds weird, but there's power in bringing out all the hidden stuff, all the stuff that you struggle with. Like, there's so much power in just bringing that to the light. And this helped me immensely, and it still continues to help me. Like I still talk with a specific friend here about whatever, lust, and then just desire to get married, and etc. And then I started reading this book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, right? And it started to help me realize where my struggle with lust actually comes from, right? And it made me realize that it's not that I'm just like addicted to sex or addicted to, I don't know, seeing naked women on a screen. I found that my pornography watching is a coping mechanism for some childhood traumas and pain. It helped me root it down to where this comes from, right? And I saw that a lot of it is like a result of my upbringing and etc. And it just like goes deeper into how this all happens, right? But mind you, this is a secular artist, and towards the end of the book, it gets a little weird, right? And basically, the last chapter, it talks about how as a man, it tells you as a man, you should masturbate. I was like, what the? That's super weird. And I started to question masturbation in general, right? I was like, is masturbation a sin or is it not a sin? That was like, in my mind, I knew it was wrong for the 2 years, but in my heart, I still struggled with that question. I think that was the reason why, like, even while I was in Japan, I was still giving into masturbation, right? I just somehow, in my head, I knew it was wrong, but in my heart, I was like, I'm not sure if this is wrong. Like, as a man, I need to release, right? We have wet dreams, right? And there's like that whole saying that you need to like release every now and then to like not not increase your chances of prostate cancer and all that stuff. But anyway, I was like very compromised on this, okay? And basically I moved to Tennessee and I was just away from all the voices. Like, I haven't even thought about League of Legends once since being here. I've been here for almost 4 months, I think now. Almost 3 months, sorry. And just like Netflix, anime, games, none of that speaks to me here, right? And I was like, oh, I made a good choice in leaving my like family's place, right? But I think I'm like 2 months clean from porn at this point, but I'm still struggling with masturbation, especially after having read that last chapter from this book, right? I was like, dude, I'm not even sure masturbation's wrong still. And then I watched another video from the same girl. Like, she released this, I don't know, maybe a month or two. Anyway, she released this like pretty recently. So in this video, she basically talks about like how masturbation, it gives you a spirit of settling, right? And I started to really reflect on my life. In League of Legends, my goal was to get diamond, right? And I hit plat 2 and I started to play against diamond people. And I was like, my MMR is diamond now, right? And I was like, I think this is good enough. And I just stopped playing ranked altogether. And here is when I was like the most shredded I have ever been, just like the most not fat, right? But I had to stretch my stomach out to like show my abs a little more. I never actually achieved a 6-pack, right? And it was at this point, I was like, oh, it's time to bulk now. Like I kind of got close, so let's bulk now, okay? And regarding my music career, right? I had big dreams to make a living off of this. But at one point I was like, I hit almost 10,000 followers. I worked for K-pop. I made a 35 million hit song. I think this is all I need. This is okay. This is okay. And this is completely random, but I used to breakdance. And the last move I was trying to learn was a head spin. And I got it decent enough where it's like impressive to normal people, but I still didn't nail it like 100%. I was like, this is good enough. And I realized I get like 80%, 90% there with a lot of my goals. But at that point, I never finish and I never fully follow through, right? And basically, this person, she talks, this is, take it with a grain of salt, but I truly believe in it. It's not exactly evidenced by the Bible, but it makes sense, especially people who are aware of the spiritual realm talk about things like this. Anyway, when you masturbate, when you give into porn, when you fornicate, etc., you invite demons into your life. And there's a very specific demon. It's called a spiritual spouse, is what she mentions. And this spouse of yours that you married, it gets jealous about anything that kind of thwarts its marriage with you. So even like people who you get close to marrying, right? Like you kind of just sabotage it at one point, right? Because of this spiritual spouse. And then when you get close to succeeding with music, your spiritual spouse gets really jealous. So you sabotage it, right? And I don't want to bring league into the picture too, but it's like a similar thing. Like again, when I was plat and about to get into diamond, I was like, I'm almost there. This is good enough. That is the act of me sabotaging it, right? And I was like, dude, I don't want this anymore. I just quit my job too. I need to achieve my goals to the max. So I started to watch the rest of this video. And at this point, I started going to a charismatic church too, by the way. And I started to realize that deliverances and the Holy Spirit and spiritual gifts, all that stuff happens in the Bible. So I was very open to this video, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, Jesus, I want deliverance from whatever this demon is. I want this out of my freaking life, right? So I watched the whole video, and basically I experienced like the tingly sensation that I felt when I attended like a charismatic retreat when I was in middle school or high school, I think. And I just had this trust, right? I had to trust that Jesus healed me, right? And I've been there since. And basically, ever since I watched this, I just haven't masturbated. This is the longest I think I went in my life since I've started watching porn, I mean, right? And I am like so focused on my goals right now. I'm so like, I've never been this focused in my life before. I'm really focused on growing my content. I'm focused on just like writing out my scripts and whatnot. And I got to like a brand deal that I'm working with. And I started to work on something with my friend, like an app and whatnot. And we are like hecka locked in, right? And this friend is one of the guys from that Salty Bros group chat. Oh, another thing that really helped. Okay, so this friend is crazy, right? He's like, dude, I need to lock in too. Like, I need to stop being my meat, right? So he basically said, if I give in to the sin, I'm going to pay you $1,000. And he's been clean from it since. I think he's like at the 5-month point. And that inspired me too. And I was like, I can't do $1,000, but I'll do 50. And that enough has been helping me, right? Anyway, we've been both going strong. He's been going longer than me, but that has been helping us like crazy. And we just like, whenever we feel anything, right? Like he would just be like, oh, I feel pent up something, right? He just says it. Anyway, that's been helping me personally, like crazy. And then I ran into this story, okay, of a guy. Like, he reached out to me and he told me his whole story about how pornography and masturbation, it just destroyed his marriage. And it destroyed his multi-million-dollar business too. He lost everything, including his marriage, right? And basically, long story short, this is how it happened. Like, while he was married to his wife, right, he would get into a fight. Them two would get into a fight. And then to cope with the pain of that fight, especially after you're in a fight, the last thing you want to do is have sex with each other. That's just like the reality, is what he told me. I'm not married. I don't know how it goes. But to cope with that pain, he would regulate by watching pornography and masturbating, right? And he would feel better after doing that. So now after the fight, he's okay. But the wife is not okay. She's still like wrestling with the whole fight and everything. And the actual topic of their fight was never addressed, right? And she's like still like not in a good place because of the fight, but he's in a good place and the problem's not addressed. Anyway, this continued for a long time, right? And the wife is like, what the heck is going on? I feel like my husband is totally checked out of this marriage. And eventually the marriage becomes sexless, right? And eventually, right, he cleans up his act. But at this point, all trust is gone. Like, she's like, dude, like when you watch pornography, it really makes, and your wife like knows about it, right? Like they perceive it, and I think it's true too, as cheating, right? And they become really insecure about themselves, and they're like, oh my gosh, am I not good enough that he has to watch porn to like get sexual pleasure now, and I can't please him enough, right? And stuff like that. And that's totally valid too, but that's genuinely what happens, is what he told me, right? And so after he does address this porn problem, at this point, she has lost complete trust in him. And it's like, almost, it basically feels like it's too late, right? And she basically even like, he wants kids at this point, and she's like, I never got the sexual fulfillment I needed, and now you're telling me to commit to kids. And she suggested an open relationship, an open marriage, and basically everything kind of went downhill from there. There are some more details, but that's kind of the long story short. So that happened, and then that really revealed to me even more, oh my gosh, I cannot mess with this thing. I really should not. This needs to be completely removed from my life, right? And then this Bible verse, like, I've heard it so many times, but it started to really make sense to me. See that no one is sexually immoral or is godless like Esau, who for a single meal sold his inheritance rights as the oldest son. And I really realized, right, like, Satan is trying to kill, steal, and destroy. And pornography and masturbation is one of the ways he is trying to take everything from you, right? Your dreams, your goals, your ambitions, your marriage, your everything, right? And especially, like, I'm really wanting to like not return to corporate life, and I'm trying my best not to return to that, right? And like, I need my goals to happen, right? And I'm like, dude, I don't even want to mess with this thing anymore, right? And I start to really assess. I'm again like 2.5 months free from masturbation, and I started to assess how I got here, right? And it was a lot of struggle, a lot of relapses, a lot of moments of recognizing the truth, right? The truth of what this thing is, the truth of what I'm missing out on, the truth about what sex is even, because I don't know, I had this negative view of it. It's like all sex is bad. Like, I know that sounds ridiculous, but I literally thought that. I was like, if I have any sexual thought in my head, I'm sinning, I'm just evil, I'm just like of Satan. I had that black and white thinking at one point. But then I start to realize, wait a minute, sex was created by God. Wait a minute. It's right that I should have sexual desires, right? And it's normal. And this is what pushes people to get married, right? And I learned this thing about Jewish people back then, right? They would get married very young because they were so aware of the sexual desire. And they're like, if this is like in bad hands, it turns into bad things. Therefore, we got to like make sure people like get married young. And anyway, like they had just had that as part of their tradition, custom, I don't know. And I started to have a really new view of sex. I was like, oh my gosh, this is created by God. It's so pleasurable and it's so beautiful too if it's done right, right? And that made me think, again, totally different of it in a good way, right? And then again, I saw like our Christian marriage, and then every time I relapsed, right, I was like, dude, I really recognize this is just not good. And this, anyway, repeated moments of understanding the truth, right? I feel like that has led me to where I am right now. And I think it totally is in line with the Bible verse that Jesus says, like, you shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free, right? And I learned a lot of things about psychological truths regarding this, right? Just like physical, chemistry, biological truths and spiritual truths, right? Learning about the spiritual realm and everything. And I think that is the solution to like being free from any addiction. As Jesus says, you need to know the truth in all different types of angles. And the more truth you are truly aware of, not even at like a mind level, I mean like at a heart level, like it really helps you to be free from the sin. Anyway, that is basically what I want to conclude on. So, yep, that's all. Yes.